and welcome back. This is a weekly extra update on the worms. It's a quick one and I didn't want to bore you with how I finally decided to remove the castings from the horizontal migration. I've got my 2 regular totes that were ready for harvest after 3 weeks. So here I'm just removing the finished castings from the bins. I decided to just take a scoop and scoop them out and sacrifice a band at the front of the material that I was using for harvesting, because there were so many worms and that area got a lot damper and wetter than the side where the castings were, so the worms were hanging out over there. So I just went ahead, took a scoop, and then filled up both bins with the same cardboard and cocoa core material as what I was doing when I was going through the horizontal migration. My final thoughts on the horizontal migration are: 1, if all you have are your 1 bins, this is going to be the way to go. It allows you to harvest in the same bin that you're building your worm colony, so it doesn't require you to have any additional equipment. But the downside to that is you are going to lose some of your finished castings because you're not going to get the worms out of the band right next to the new bedding versus the finished castings, because the worms tend to still hang out there and they just don't fully move over. If you have the ability to get a second bin and you're able to harvest in an additional tray, I would recommend that, so that you get the maximum amount of castings and you don't have any worms left over in the finished castings that you couldn't sift out. So at this point, I am just combining the castings from the previous bin's harvest with the new bin's harvest. One of the bonuses for doing the horizontal migration is that the castings are already dried out, unlike when you use the bait trays where you do have to wait like a week to dry them out. They're already dried out, so I immediately went to sifting. I did this because they were ready and because I did find so many worms in that band that I wasn't sure if I got all my worms out, and I didn't want worms hanging out in castings that I may not look at for a couple of weeks. So I went ahead and sifted both material. I do have other videos where I sift from the bait trays, which I don't do for a couple of weeks, but if you would like to take a look at that, I will link one of my sifting videos. But I typically use 2 different mesh strainers and sifters for my castings, one to catch larger material and one to catch smaller material. Now usually I will put the larger material in the flow-through system, the Vermibag Mini, and put the medium size material right back into the tote that it came from. But again, because of the worms, once I looked at it and I saw that there were so many worms in the coarser sifters material, I just ended up combining it all together and putting them all back into the bin that they came from. I just did not feel comfortable with putting that many worms into a different bag and decreasing the number of worms in the other bag. So this is where I just combined them together. For the second bin as well, I added the finished material from the sifters back into the new bedding and mixed it in. And then for the bag from the previous week where it was harvested, I added more material to that one. So that was just a quick update for what I did with the harvest. I will be back next week with a fuller video where I do all of my bins and update them. But thank you for sticking with me to the end. I hope you've enjoyed the content. As always, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.